Good morning or good afternoon. Today we'll be watching a video on Quizzette 608. Please write your last name, comma, first name, today's date, and your class color. Number one is going to have, I think each day on number one has 3 steps or 3 questions. It says, read the question to yourself and select the best answer. A, simplify 7 squared. 7 squared is just 7 times 7, and that's 49. Make sure you box your answer. B says, simplify 7 squared times 7 to the negative third. So you can do this like this, and then you can know that 7 times 7 is going to be at the top. 7 times 7 times 7 is going to be at the bottom. This is another version of 1. This is another version of 1. So what's left? 1 over 7. You can do that one 3 or 4 different ways, but at the end of the day, the answer is still going to be 7 to the negative 1, which if you simplify, it's 1/7. I know that's kind of hard to see, so let me try to write it in a different different color. Okay, so I'm going to re-explain letter B because I've had a few questions already. I'm going to write it in this green box. So go ahead and write this down in that box on your paper. So we have 7 squared times 7 to the negative 3. When you multiply them, you add the exponents if they have the same base. So we have 7 squared plus negative 3. 2 plus negative 3 is actually negative 1. So it's going to be 7 to the negative 1. But that is not a simplified form. You don't want to have negative exponents. So 7 to the negative 1 can also be rewritten as 1 over 7. So you can do it that way. Or what you can do is when there's a negative exponent, you can automatically put it under a fraction. So you could also rewrite it as 7 squared and 7 to the third, which is what I did. And I ended up getting the same answer, 1 over 7, 1 over 7. You can do it either way. I just wanted to show you a different way, and that's why I did that in the red ink. C says simplify 7 squared. I have to rewrite it because it's a little blurry. 7 squared times 7 to the negative third power, and then 7 to the negative fifth power. So if I do it the way I did it the first time, I can put the positive exponents on top and the negative exponents on the bottom. And then I can just put the amount of 7. So I have 2 7s at the top, and then I have 3 7s at the bottom, and then 5 7s at the bottom. So that's going to be a lot of 7s. Let me see. There's going to be 8 7s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then cancel out the 1s. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left over. So I have 1, 7 to the 6th power. You could also find what 7 to the 6th power is, but I don't want you to find more. I don't want you to expand that. If the exponent is higher than 3, so if you have an exponent that's higher than to the third exponent, if it's higher than a cube, I don't want you to have to do all that math. Don't worry about it. So if you had 1 and then you had 7 to the third power, I would want you to find that. And I think it's 343. If it was 1 to the 7th squared, then I would want you to do that as well. Number 2, what is the value of negative 5 squared? That's just negative 5 times negative 5. Hopefully you remember that a negative times a negative is a positive, so the total is positive 25. Letter B says, what is the value of negative 5 squared raised to the third power? And when you have an exponent being raised by another exponent, you just multiply them. So that's 2 times 3, which is 6, and then that's negative 5. Another way you can do that is you can do negative 5 times 2, which is 25. Raised to the third power. This and this is going to equal the same thing. Wait a second, it's not. Okay, I just confirmed, I got a little confused, but those are equal to the same thing. They both get like 156,255 or something like that. I already forgot what it was equal, but they're equal to the same thing. So you could solve the inside first, which is positive 25, and raise it to the third power, or you can do negative 5 to the 6th power. If you hear whispering, I apologize. People are being rude in my class as I record this video. Letter C, what is the value of negative 5 squared raised to the third power plus 3 to the 5th power? So we already have that solved up there. So we have negative 5 to the 6th power plus 3 to the 5th power. I guess here it's wanting you to solve it, but I'm going to accept it just like this. You understand that this is -5 times -5 times -5 times -5 times -5 times -5. And you understand that this right here is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And then you could add those two together. I'll accept that. 3A says, which measurement represents the smallest value? This is kind of like the question you guys had last week. You just look at the exponents and you see if they're positive or negative. So all these exponents are negative. We have -5, -8, -2, -6. But the decimal is different for all of them. So why don't you just solve it? So this one is equal to, you add 5 zeros. I'm sorry, you add 4 zeros to the front because it is a negative exponent. So if there's a negative exponent, you move it in the negative direction. So I have 8.5, and I'm going to move it 5 times because it's a -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a decimal there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now let's look at the next one. We have 9.58, and it's raised to the -8. So I'm going to move this 8 units to the negative direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Some of you guys noticed the pattern. If it's -8, that just means it has 7 zeros in front of the number. Okay, now let's do 2.783, and you're moving it twice to the left. 1, 2. And then the last one is 9.98, and we're moving it 6 units to the negative direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it's asking you which one has the smallest value. Well, you can just look at the zeros. Which one has the most zeros? The second one. So for this one, I know some of you guys, you could have just looked at these and answered, oh, it's the second one. But on the Quizzette, when we're grading it on Friday, I'm going to give you credit for having the right answer, and I'm also going to have you credit for expanding each one. You need the practice. 3B, which choice represents the largest value? So if we're just looking at these, it's between the second and the third one, but the largest value, I'm sorry, it's between the first and the fourth one, so not these. Because if you look at the exponents, this one's negative, this one's positive. So really, it's just the last one. We know it's going to be the last one. That one's going to have the greatest value because that's the only one that's positive. But I want you to expand them. So we have 9.74. It's to the -3rd power, so 1, 2, 3. Put 2 zeros. Then we have 6.08. 7 is negative, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm kind of running out of room. So the third one, I have 5.7, and I'm going to move it 7 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oops, 6 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, I was right. 6. And then the last one, 1.9, you're going to move it 2 places to the right because it's positive, and that's 190. 190 is way more than all these tiny decimals, so that is the largest value. Thank you. Good luck on this Quizzette. Raise your hand if you have a question, or you can ask your group if I allow you guys to work in a group. Thank you. Have a good week.